The morning broadcast began with the usual excitement, the audience buzzing with anticipation as the cameras swept across the bright studio lights shimmering against the cheerful backdrop. Jenna welcomed viewers with her signature smile, her voice brimming with enthusiasm as she announced the arrival of a special guest. Teddy Swims, whose soulful voice had captured millions around the world, entered the stage greeted by loud applause and cheers, his demeanor warm and humble as he waved to the crowd. At first the atmosphere seemed lighthearted. Jenna asked playful questions about his recent tour and his rise to fame, while Teddy responded with easy laughter and sincerity, but beneath the surface there was a subtle tension, a sense that the conversation might not remain so casual for long. As the questions grew more pointed, Jenna steered the dialogue toward his personal life and the struggles that had shaped his music, her tone sharper than before. Teddy shifted in his seat, his smile fading slightly, his answers slower, more deliberate. The audience sensed the shift, their applause more cautious now, the cheerful rhythm of the show beginning to falter as an undercurrent of unease rippled through the studio. The cameras zoomed closer, catching the flicker of conflict in Teddy's eyes, a storm brewing just beneath the polished surface of daytime television. Jenna leaned forward, her voice carrying an edge that was sharper than the playful tone she had used earlier. She began asking questions about Teddy Swims' personal relationships and the emotional challenges he had faced in recent years. The audience shifted uneasily, sensing the change in mood, their applause subdued, some whispering quietly among themselves. Teddy paused briefly, his eyes scanning the room, the microphone in front of him capturing every nuance of his hesitation. His jaw tightened slightly as he answered slowly, each word chosen with care. The contrast between Jenna's pointed questions and Teddy's calm, thoughtful responses created a tension that was palpable. The crowd leaned forward, hanging on every word, trying to gauge the mood of the interaction. Jenna attempted to press further, questioning the impact of fame on his emotional well-being, but Teddy countered with measured calm, explaining that the pressures of public life often magnified personal struggles and that he valued honesty and authenticity above superficial appearances. The audience responded with quiet murmurs of agreement, some nodding subtly while others shifted in their seats. The tension between the host's approach and Teddy's unwavering demeanor became the central focus of the broadcast, the cameras capturing every subtle movement, every flicker of emotion, highlighting a confrontation that was building steadily toward an inevitable climax. The audience grew quieter as the tension mounted. Jenna pressed on, her tone sharpening with each question, her words probing deeper into Teddy Swims' personal experiences and the impact of fame on his private life. The once cheerful stage now felt charged with unease, some audience members shifting in their seats, others exchanging nervous glances. Teddy remained composed, his eyes steady, his voice calm but firm as he responded to each query with honesty and measured restraint. He spoke of the balance between vulnerability and performance, the lessons learned from navigating the music industry, and the importance of staying true to oneself despite external pressures. The contrast between Jenna's insistent tone and Teddy's quiet resolve created a palpable sense of conflict, a dynamic that seemed to hold the entire studio in suspense. The cameras captured every subtle twitch, every small pause, highlighting the growing tension as Teddy articulated his perspective with clarity and conviction. He emphasized the need for understanding and respect, that conversation should illuminate, not diminish, the human experience. The audience responded with murmurs and soft applause, some nodding their heads in agreement as the atmosphere thickened, each exchange layered with intensity, signaling that the confrontation was heading toward a breaking point that no one could ignore. Jenna shifted in her seat, her smile tight, her posture tense as she attempted to steer the conversation back to lighter topics, yet her words were tinged with sharpness that revealed her growing impatience. The audience sensed the friction, each cheer now muted, uncertain how to react to the unfolding exchange. Teddy Swims leaned slightly forward, his hands resting lightly on the table, his expression calm yet his eyes alert and focused as he responded with deliberate care to Jenna's pointed inquiries. He spoke of the challenges of maintaining authenticity in the public eye, of the emotional toll that came from being constantly scrutinized, and of the responsibility he felt to use his platform with integrity. Each response was measured and precise, his voice steady and commanding in its quietness. The contrast between the host pressing for reaction and the guest holding his ground heightened the intensity of the moment. The cameras panned across the audience, capturing their fascination and unease, their eyes fixed on the interaction unfolding like a carefully balanced drama. The tension was thick, the energy in the studio palpable, and the crew behind the scenes whispered into headsets, trying to anticipate what would happen next. As the dialogue continued to escalate beyond the boundaries of casual daytime television, the confrontation had taken on a weight that could not be ignored. The tension in the studio was now unmistakable, the cheerful playful chatter of earlier moments replaced by a heavy silence broken only by the cadence of Teddy Swim's measured voice. Jenna attempted to interject, her questions sharper and more insistent as she probed further into his personal struggles and the ways in which fame had affected his emotional well-being. The audience leaned forward, captivated and uneasy at the same time, some whispering to neighbors, others sitting rigidly anticipating the next response. Teddy responded with calm precision, his words deliberate and thoughtful. He spoke of resilience, of learning to navigate challenges without compromising his values, and of the importance of maintaining honesty even when faced with provocation. Each statement resonated with a quiet authority that drew applause from segments of the audience while simultaneously heightening Jenna's frustration. She gestured sharply across the table, her tone clipped as she attempted to regain control, but Teddy remained unmoved, his presence steady, commanding respect through simple authenticity. The contrast between his calm clarity and her increasingly tense approach created an electric energy in the room, one that transcended the ordinary rhythm of daytime television. The crew behind the cameras moved cautiously, adjusting shots and angles as the live broadcast continued, with everyone aware that the confrontation was intensifying toward a dramatic moment that would be remembered long after the show ended. The energy in the studio shifted as Teddy Swims continued to hold his ground, the audience captivated by his composure and unwavering focus. Jenna leaned in, her voice sharper now as she pressed questions about accountability and public perception, her tone insistent, her gestures more pronounced, attempting to provoke a reaction. The crowd sensed the friction, the applause hesitant, uncertain as the tension thickened. The cameras captured every subtle movement, every glance and pause. Teddy responded with deliberate calm, his voice steady, his expressions measured. He spoke of integrity and respect, of the importance of maintaining personal truth even under pressure, and of the value of listening to understand rather than simply to respond. The audience murmured their approval, nodding along softly as they absorbed his words, each exchange layered with intensity, highlighting the contrast between the host's pressing style and Teddy's deliberate calm. The tension was palpable. The production crew whispered into headsets, unsure whether to cut to commercial or allow the confrontation to continue unfolding. The energy in the room was electric as Teddy articulated his perspective with clarity, each sentence reinforcing his steadfastness and signaling that the storm that had been quietly brewing was now on the brink of erupting. Jenna shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her hands gripping the edge of the table as she tried to regain control over the conversation, her voice rising slightly as she pressed Teddy on the complexities of managing personal life under the public gaze. The audience watched intently, caught between admiration for Teddy's calm resilience and curiosity about how far the confrontation would escalate. Teddy Swims remained steady, his posture relaxed but his eyes focused and unwavering. He responded with measured clarity, emphasizing the importance of maintaining integrity, of staying true to oneself, and of facing challenges with honesty and empathy. The crowd murmured in acknowledgement, some nodding quietly while others applauded softly. The contrast between Jenna's increasingly tense approach and Teddy's composed demeanor created a charged atmosphere, the cameras capturing every nuance of their interaction, every subtle flicker of expression highlighting the raw intensity of the exchange. The studio seemed to hold its collective breath as the dialogue pushed beyond the boundaries of ordinary talk show banter. Teddy articulated his perspective with precision, each word deliberate, reinforcing his unwavering stance and leaving no doubt that he would not be swayed by pressure or provocation. The tension now teetering on the edge of a dramatic turning point, the studio fell into a heavy silence as the confrontation escalated. Jenna attempted to regain her footing, her words sharper and faster, her gestures more pronounced, but Teddy Swims remained unshaken, his eyes steady, his voice calm and deliberate as he responded with thoughtfulness and conviction. He spoke of the importance of listening to understand rather than reacting impulsively, of maintaining authenticity in the face of scrutiny, and of honoring personal truth even when challenged. The audience leaned forward, captivated by the intensity of the exchange, some whispering quietly, others clapping in quiet support for the musician's composure. The contrast between Jenna's increasingly tense questions and Teddy's calm, thoughtful responses created an electric atmosphere. The cameras panned across the room, capturing the audience reactions, their fascination, their unease, the crew behind the scenes adjusting angles and whispering into headsets, trying to anticipate the outcome of the live exchange. Teddy articulated his perspective with precision, his voice carrying authority and sincerity, each word reinforcing his unwavering commitment to integrity. The energy in the room was palpable, charged with anticipation as the confrontation pushed the limits of ordinary daytime television, leaving viewers and hosts alike on edge, awaiting the moment when the storm would finally break. Jenna Behar grew visibly frustrated, her hands gesturing sharply as she pressed Teddy on the nuances of his responses and the perceived consequences of his statements. The audience leaned in their seats, caught between admiration for Teddy's calm steadfastness and curiosity about the escalation of tension. Teddy Swims remained composed, his posture relaxed, His voice steady as he addressed each point with careful clarity. He spoke of the importance of honesty, of standing by one's principles even when challenged, and of approaching conversation with empathy rather than defensiveness. The applause from segments of the audience grew louder each time his words resonated and drew quiet nods of agreement from viewers who could relate to his message. Jenna's attempts to regain control faltered as she realized that her insistent questioning was being met with unwavering calm and thoughtful articulation. The atmosphere in the studio became electric, charged with anticipation as viewers witnessed a clash of patience and provocation. The cameras captured every subtle shift in expression, every pause and flicker of emotion, emphasizing the intensity of the moment. The audience held their collective breath, knowing that the confrontation had reached a pivotal point and that Teddy Swims would not compromise his composure or integrity despite mounting pressure from the host and the live audience. The studio atmosphere had transformed completely, from the cheerful energy at the start to a charged space filled with tension and anticipation. Teddy Swims rose from his chair deliberately, his posture calm yet commanding, the audience silent and leaning forward in anticipation. Jenna attempted one final remark, her voice strained, insisting that walking away would show weakness, but Teddy shook his head slowly, his expression serene yet resolute. He explained that choosing to leave when dialogue became disrespectful was not surrender but a statement of principle. The audience erupted in mixed reactions, some clapping in admiration, others gasping at the unexpected drama unfolding live. The cameras followed his steady steps, capturing the weight of experience and conviction in his calm stride. He turned toward the exit, his gaze sweeping across the crowd one last time, his voice steady as he thanked them for their support and reminded viewers that integrity, authenticity and courage must never be compromised. The crew scrambled to adjust the broadcast while the audience remained in stunned silence, witnessing an unforgettable moment of defiance and dignity as Teddy Swims walked off the stage, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present and forever marking the episode as one of the most intense confrontations in the show's history. Dash dash dash. Dash dash dash.